Hey, what's up guys? A warm welcome back to another video on the channel. You know, I'm well aware of the fact that it's been years since I put out some of the more popular videos, but I think it allowed for some good developments to take place. That said, it got me to thinking it was time to follow up on the top 5 best Figuarts in the line, as last time I gave my opinion on this was way back in 2018, 4 years ago, damn. Now, if you've watched the latest History of Dragon Ball Figuarts episode, or you've just been keeping up with the line regularly, you know that there's been a lot of developments and releases over the years since 2018, and my god, there's more than you can count on your fingers and your toes. Anyways, so in taking a look at the top 5 Figuarts as of 2022, let's just lay out some ground rules since there's bound to be differences in opinions, and the almighty keyboard warrior striking back harder than the Phantom Menace awakening after the Last Jedi regained some new hope. See what I did there? Okay, so criteria for the figures decided upon in this video are the following. Aesthetics, of course. How well does the figure actually look like the character? How well did Tamashii produce the figures in terms of the paint job and shading, and which there seems to be sparing use of nowadays. Next is articulation. This category is super important. This is an expensive line, and if the figure can't pose well, we might as well just buy the statue counterparts. In addition, we're going to take into consideration improvements upon previous versions in general compared to the line, and overall, how do these factors contribute to the figure being worth the money? Especially for new collectors looking to get into the line, this list should help you establish where your hard-earned dollars should be spent as opposed to passing over better opportunities. Guys, I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible here, but I'm sure you all know it can get slightly difficult when a figure strikes you to your core and just executes a favorite character so well. Well, top 5 Dragon Ball Figuarts 2022 edition. Let's go. Hey guys, if you're brand new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and definitely ring-a-ding-ding that bell notification button. It helps the channel grow and it helps me bring you guys a lot more. So quickly recapping where we left off back in 2018, the list is as follows. At number 5, we had Shenron, which to be honest, I think it was the initial wow factor that impressed me. Nowadays, I look back at it and I see it as way more of a statue than a true Figuart, but hey, it made the list back then, and I think if it was that terrible, Tamashii wouldn't have produced a $300 Porunga figure. At number 4, we had Golden Frieza. I still really like the aesthetic of this figure, and believe it or not, despite its place on the list, I was on the fence about picking him up. I'd be surprised if they didn't eventually upgrade to a 2.0 Frieza fully, or actually make a new mold for him since he's physically larger than Frieza's form, and hopefully they don't make him an exclusive as they've done with other figures in the past. At number 3, we had the deity of destruction himself, Lord Beerus. Now to this day, this remains one of the most solid figures in the line, in my opinion. It has the aesthetics, adequate articulation, and a good range of facial expressions to capture the character's personality. There really wasn't and still isn't very much wrong with this figure. Now the release of the recent exclusive counterpart offers fans another chance to pick this guy up, but funnily enough, it didn't really add too much to the non-exclusive version, if that makes sense, and I'd like to think this is because the figure was already good enough as it was. At number 2, I sort of enveloped a group of characters together out of hesitancy to take up the whole list with just Z Fighter Saiyans, and that's why I threw Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan in this slot together. But really, they did deserve to be on here because they were incredible improvements on their 1.0 counterparts. Arguably, these are definitive portrayals of the characters that we had at the time in those particular forms, and they hold up quite well today. And finally, at number 1, had my boy, the OG legendary Super Saiyan Broly. From the time I got into the line, I dreamt about the day I would get to own a figure like this, and for me, it really didn't disappoint. As one of the largest figures in the line back then, I was surprised by its ability to uphold aesthetics while being such a bulky figure. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's see which figures made it onto the 2022 edition of the list. Will any of the figures presently hold their own? Let's find out. But guys, seriously, drop a like for me. It's not easy putting out these vids nowadays, and without the room of spirit and time, I gotta sacrifice time away from other things to do these, so it's much appreciated. Okay, so at number 5, I have SDCC Ultra Instinct Sign or Omen Goku. Now if you're like me, and you're not a completionist, at the time of this release you thought, meh, I already have a lot of Gokus and I'm spending a lot on figures. Only to realize you actually missed out. This figure is top notch. It brings with it the quality of exclusive first off, and Tamashii kind of did us dirty here, but it looks so clean. This is the first figure to feature a battle damage Goku with the blue undershirt intact with the actual anime colors. The closed eyes face is also super cool. Now, the reason I haven't bringing up the tail end of this list is because, as awesome as a figure as this is, I have to acknowledge the fact that he's very niche. There aren't many other figures in the line right now that can be paired up with him canonically. However, he reps a super popular and iconic moment in the franchise for many fans. What's more is that the body is probably actually closer, like I mentioned, to the anime Awakening Goku, or Goku's first transformation into Super Saiyan, than the actual release we have for Awakening Goku, minus the hair of course. Truly a specimen worthy of repping the Figuarts brand, especially with newer fans of Dragon Ball in general. Alright, so you guys know me, and it would be a bit of a shocker not to have Broly somewhere in this video, right? Well, yep, here he is at number 4, and although it may not be the Broly you were expecting, honestly, I was hoping to have the legendary Super Saiyan Broly on here too, but I couldn't. With this Broly, you're getting pretty much 3 canonical looks for your money spent on him, as well as an incredibly well thought out articulation with the figure, great detail in the paint apps, an incredible vibrant aesthetic overall. And the intricate details of the accessory necklace can't be overlooked either. Really nothing missing other than the actual ability to transform into full power version of Broly. Although this figure's appearance strictly limits him to super characters and pairings with him, and it doesn't offer the hulking brutality that Broly's other iterations bring, you've got an all-around top-notch placeholder here. When you take a step back out of the Dragon Ball perspective and look at the general action figure perspective at this piece, it executes to near perfection more than our current Cell figures. In addition, a lot of people have always wanted a powered-down base form of Broly when the OG came out, and now you've got that plus more in this one release. So at number 3, I have Battle Damaged Gohan. Guys, out of the Saiyans holding the number 2 slot on the 2018 list, Battle Damaged Gohan is the only one I'm keeping in the top 5. Why? Well, for starters, no Dragon Ball Z collection is complete without this guy. And unlike Goku and Vegeta, he's the only 2.0 of Cell Saga Gohan to this date. And he comes with Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2 heads. And he's battle damaged to boot. He deserves to stay on this list because he was part of the forefront into the 2.0 era and is leagues above his 1.0 counterparts. This figure is probably just missing some blood streaks, etc., but what figure in this line isn't? Its quality stomps that of the original 1.0 releases, and there is no mistaking who this is on a shelf either. For the money, until Tamashii decides to reissue a variant of this figure in some way, this figure is a must-have if you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z, with your only other options being Saiyan/Namek Saga Gohan. This brings me to my next point. Out of the smaller figures other than Frieza, this figure does it best at its size. Not Gotenks, not Krillin, not First Form Frieza, Battle Damage Gohan. You get quite a few iconic poses out of him too, and that is why he has remained on this list 4 years later. At number 2, we have Final Form Cooler. This is an incredible figure. I'm usually a bit skeptic nowadays when it comes to the larger figures and looking like straight up unpainted plastic lumps, but this guy put those fears to rest completely. This figure has been on my wish list for the longest time and he did not disappoint. It seems to be a common trend with the line that Goku and Frieza figures bring with them some of the best and consistent looks that the line has to offer, and I'm happy to see that Frieza's brother brings much of the same, if not more. Now, I've heard some negative opinions on this guy, like lack of design and ingenuity for the tail, but come on, you're telling me that this guy isn't a step up from like literally every single Saiyan tail in the line right now? Just up your posing game, for God's sake. But really guys, Cooler kills the look because he features shading, little divots in the white portions of his chest armor, as well as the actual shoulder pads of his armor allowing for articulation so he can actually look more fluid and natural when posing in punches and overhead movements. This figure is well worth the money. I feel like a lot of collectors missed out on this one, or were too late as it received a Bandai exclusive treatment as opposed to the normal release. Cooler may not be canon yet, or even as popular like a villain like Broly or his brother Frieza, but I have to say with complete confidence he deserves this number 2 spot on the list. The Dragon Stars version, while a nice figure in its own lane, literally pales in comparison next to this guy, and I highly recommend chasing him down if you can afford it. One of the larger figures in the line, and one of the best to do it. Alright, so let's get into some honorable mentions before we get to the number 1 slot. First up, we have Super Saiyan Vegeta and Awakening Goku. These two deserve a shout out just because of how relevant they are to the franchise as a whole. Awakening Goku really doesn't need an explanation why it's on this video. As for Vegeta, I think he's a great all-around figure here, but I'm still waiting for Tamashii to give up Battle Damage Vegeta, or one that actually just blows all the other ones out of the water. Next mention is Beerus. This figure has been around for a while and it really doesn't need any major improvements. If it were to stay the same as it is now, I think it'd likely be alright. It's definitive enough as Beerus to serve most collections, to mention it's just enough to have it hold up well with probably even another 10 years down the road, unlike the OG Piccolo figure. For the money, he's definitely worth a pickup if you're a fan of Super or looking to start fanning out from the core Z Fighter line and villains. Next mention goes out to Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Now I bet a lot of you frantically composing your thoughts right now and typing up why I didn't put this in the top 5. And I get it, but let me give you my 2 cents. We have a lot of Goku figures, and while this figure is great, even featuring, if you will, some 2.5 tech, I say 2.5 because the improvements seem to be on the lower body as opposed to the entire figure, but how does it measure up to the other Gokus in the line? It's a popular character, no doubt, but does it have the shading and the attention to detail that Awakening Goku did? Does it have the near flawless execution that Sign Ultra Instinct Goku had? And for the purpose of this video, if this was basketball, this figure would be a definite candidate for 6th man. So just like Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Piccolo is also in the running for the 6th man position. From a collector's standpoint, he's an incredible upgrade to the 1.0 and certainly the most long awaited. If not for some questionable drag queen lips on some of the faces, I think this might even put this guy into Broly's spot on the list, but nonetheless, he's in the video. Next mention here is literally any Frieza, or even first form Frieza. These make the honorables list because it's Frieza. If you're new to the line, you're gonna need this guy at some point. And this figure, while using the same mold as the OG, brings with it a more super relevant paint job in the newest iteration. I think it's better than the Resurrection F Frieza, but I don't think it takes the mantle from the OG, just because the OG had some great accessories in that rock bait. Alright, and our last honorable mention is Android 16. He made the list as an honorable mention back in 2018, and I'm happy to say he's still on here with his new SDCC treatment, upgrading the figure just a tad bit more. He really is still underrated. Never mind the fact that he isn't as popular as Cell or Android 17 and 18. Believe me when I tell you, your opinion of this figure will change for the better when you actually have it in hand. Alright, so the moment we've all been waiting for. At number 1, I've got Super Saiyan 2 Goku. Much like Cooler and Broly for me, I've always had a special attachment to Super Saiyan 2. Moreover, I've been waiting for a Super Saiyan 2 figure for the longest time to pair with figures like Majin Vegeta, and this figure scratches that itch perfectly. Now I don't have it in hand yet to gush about it while I show you guys just exactly why this figure is number 1 through poses, but this is the first Goku figure since Awakening to obliterate my collector's soul. From the jagged aesthetic look of Super Saiyan 2 in general, to the battle damage aesthetic, to the accessories included, just wow. This figure is definitive, a lot like battle damaged Gohan. It represents everything I think a figure representing Super Saiyan 2 Goku should, especially from the Buu Saga onwards. This is the treatment we should have seen given to Majin Vegeta, whom I bet we'll see an exclusive variation of. Yes, it is an exclusive, but I'm sure we'll see a regular release at some point. Who might not feature everything we see here, but I'm sure it'll still make a lot of collectors just as happy to have it. Goku is a flagship character of the franchise, and despite the number of times we might get sick of seeing all of his figures, this one deserves to be here. If you have the money, get it. It's got everything I feel some Figuarts lack. It's got shading, accessories that could also be used with other characters, battle damage, and just reps an iconic look. Even though this is just my opinion, I feel like a lot of you would place him at the top of this list as well, if not pretty damn close. Alright guys, so there you have it. My opinion of the top 5 best Dragon Ball Figuarts as of 2022. Look, I'm sure there's some slight differences in the numbers or even the figures who weren't even mentioned in the honorables, but that's what this channel is for, right? Started as a community where you and I would share our ideas, and that's what it'll continue to be. But you know the drill though guys, let me know your impressions below, and please, for the love of God, support the channel with a like, and subscribe if you already have it. But you know what I always say, the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Peace.